Hey everybody, welcome to episode 1 of season 2 of the Poets Day Podcast. My name is Gary. I'm going to be your host for this episode, and we are brought to you by ARDEX UK. What we want to do is we want to talk to everybody in our industry. You know, we want to kind of give back. We want to hear the stories in and around the UK around flooring and tiling. And today we are joined by Matt from Cre8tive Flooring. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, it's freezing. It's brass monkeys. But yeah, we'll get through the next 15, 20 minutes, then I can put the heating back on. So let's jump straight in. Matt, Cre8tive Flooring. How did it all start? Is it like 30 years man and boy, or have you been doing it for 6 months?
No, so I kind of fell into flooring by luck. I was going to join the RAF, and I was working as a warehouse boy at the time in a well-known national retailer. And then just started going out with a fitter, as most people do. They start off as a gopher.
So a little van boy.
Yeah.
When was this? I'm assuming in the 90s?
No, so I've been doing it now 23 years. So I'm 40. So yeah, I would have been 17. So around 2000.
Okay.
98, 2000. That was sort of time that I got into it.
Where you jumped in as a van boy, yeah.
Yeah, and then just kind of never went back to my RAF interviews. So I was set to go in as in the officers ranking at the RAF, but
What made you pick the RAF? I mean, it's just funny because I think I've interviewed somebody before that was in the army and then turned out to be a floorer. But was that always a thing in your family that you were going to go into the RAF?
No, so none of my family are in the RAF or the forces, and none of my family are in flooring.
Okay, cool. You're the black sheep. Yeah.
So I don't know how I fell into it, but for some stupid reason, I've decided to stay in it. It's been 23 years this year. So
I mean, that's amazing, right? I mean, why is the answer, right? You couldn't be flying planes, right? Sounds glorious, but now you're laying LVT, right?
Yeah, that's everybody's dream, isn't it? So everybody wants to grow up to be a floor layer.
Yeah. So why did you want to be a part of the RAF? Was that like a dream as a small boy? You wanted to be a pilot kind of thing?
I finished doing my A-levels. I was in the process of doing my A-levels and didn't want to go to uni, and kind of wanted to go and travel. And I had a friend that, or a couple of friends in the army and a couple of friends that were going into the RAF,
right.
And looked at it and thought, actually, it's not a bad career. And then, just never managed to get to the final interview stages before you then go off for selection. Never went back.
And that was it. You jumped into that van and you're like, mate, this is the life. This is ready for me. I want to lay some floor.
It's kind of. I think from my boss was always he always explained everything that, if you're happy with it, then the customer will be happy with it. And I think going back 20 years was just carpets. There wasn't, he didn't certainly do LVT or any of the designs that there are now. And I kind of enjoyed the transformation. You go in and, leave, it might be a few hours or a couple of days later and you've transformed a place. For me, that was part of the draw, and it was really rewarding.
Yeah, and it's funny, that little statement you just said there. If you're happy with it, the client's happy with it, and that is such a great ethos to have as a business person, specifically in this kind of a visual art. Effectively, is to set your standards really high. If you think it's a great job, then the client will think it's a great job. So you're almost putting your feet in their shoes, right? Then obviously you jumped in the van, and why do you think you've stayed then for the last 23 years? Is it because, like, again, I've spoken to other people, and you're right, they kind of like got to it by accident, or they've helped a mate out, and all of a sudden 20 years have gone by and they absolutely love it. They would never leave it.
Honestly, I don't know what it is, but it's, for me, the satisfaction when you've done a job, that's the rewarding part of it. Don't get me wrong, the money's pretty good. And when you first go out on your own, you can earn some pretty good money. And when you compare it to what people your age were doing, whether they were,
stacking shelves at Co-op or
or doing that, or even in the forces, and trades do earn good money, kind of fairly quickly. But then you almost hit a ceiling point.
Right, you plateau a bit, yeah.
Yeah, unless you then open shops and you get guys working for you, but the getting guys working for me was never really what I wanted to do, because I always had that ethos of it's my job until I'm finished and I'm cleaned down and all my tools right. It's still my job, whether it's for
you wanted that quality assurance sort of thing. Yeah,
that's it. And when you get other people doing it for you, you can't control what they're doing. And I'm fortunate that I've built a fairly good name. And I am quite particular. So getting other people, if they don't kind of cut the mustard, then
they don't do it your way. Regardless of whether they do a really good job or not so good job, is actually do it the way that you do the job specifically. And you've got that name that there's your flair to it, right? So how was that transition to going from working for somebody to then working for yourself? Did you just wake up one day going, nah, stuff it, I want that extra 50 quid in my pocket? Or were you like, or was the guy really helpful? Was he supportive in getting you to where you were?
So to start off with, you always, you do a certain amount of time, whether it's, some people will do 6 months and then they go out on their own. Some people will do 3 or 4 years. I've done 3 or 4 years. So
and is it always that open conversation with the guy who drives the van? Do you have that open conversation to say, I'm going to be an apprentice for 6 months, I'm going to start my own? Or is it, nah, see you later, mate, I'm off?
I think it comes down to the sort of person you are. I didn't want to be, there's certainly where I live, there's loads of carpet fitters that just bang it down and out the door. And that's kind of, if that's what they're happy with, then so be it. I always wanted to do that little bit more and do that little bit extra and kind of have the name for being good. So I spoke to him, saved up, brought myself a little van, and then I went off doing Saturdays for the shop that we worked for.
Right.
And I would have my own day, which obviously the shop owner at the time and my boss would make sure that I didn't have anything too tricky.
Oh, okay, cool. So you went out on your own doing solo jobs, but still working for somebody else?
Yeah, so Monday to Friday I worked with my old boss, and then on a Saturday I would go off and do say a day's work for the shop that I was working for. So, and then it got to the point where historically January, February is always quiet in the flooring industry, because obviously everyone spent their money at Christmas. November, December is manic. So we knew that we were going to get to Christmas, and come the new year, I was going to go off on my own. And I was about 3.5 years in. So it was quite good for me, because obviously as an apprentice wage, you'd only have to do maybe a couple of days on your own to earn the same money. So I knew that if I was quiet, I would still be where I was and what I could survive on, when I was a trainee sort of thing. Yeah. And it just kind of grew from there with support from my old boss. He did help the people I worked for. And then things just evolve, and you see new things coming into the market, and you kind of want to choose your path that you go down. Sure.
Because there are so many, right?
Yeah, there's all different aspects. Predominantly you're either a domestic fitter or a commercial fitter. I wanted to stay domestic because I enjoy customers making me a cup of coffee, and then decided to go down the LVT luxury vinyl tile route after seeing some of the designs and things that some of the guys were producing.
So we'll talk about Cre8tive Flooring in a second. But how did you? Because Cre8tive Flooring, obviously, you recently won an award, right? But how did you transition away from then the business, working for somebody else, to then Cre8tive Flooring Limited? How was that? Was it kind of support from the other guys? Is there anything that you would tell your younger self from what you know now, is what I mean?
I'd have done it sooner.
Right, okay.
So I was subbing to a shop 5 days a week. And when you've got all your eggs in one basket, they control what you do. The usual way it works is if you're good, you get the tricky stuff. If you're not so good, you get the easy stuff. Well, the easy stuff, the square rooms, those guys earn more money than the guys that are doing the tricky stuff. And I kind of quickly saw this. So my days went from 5 days down to 4 to 3. And then I started to do work for another firm that wanted the more intricate work and paid slightly better on those things. Yeah. So I kind of shifted from one side to another. And then it was a case of, we had my little boy, who's now 10, and we set up a company. And I wanted to kind of go down the route of having a company that was a little bit more legitimate than Matt's Carpets or like my name, Flooring.
Sure.
So I wanted a company, and I wanted a logo. so me and the wife sat down and we looked at all different names, and because of the LVT side of things, it was very creative.
Sure.
And the name just kind of fell, and then we decided to make it a little bit different by putting the number 8 into it. Which is great until you have to spell your email address to somebody.
Yeah.
You have to spell it out every time. So
there's an accounting platform that I use, and it's called Xero, but it starts with an X, and their advert is just Google Xero with an X. And I was like, oh, brilliant! You should have thought of that before you go out the business name. So tell me about Cre8tive Flooring. Like, what do you do? You know, obviously, like you said, there's loads of different types of flooring and tiling and whatnot. But tell me about Cre8tive Flooring. Where are you? What's your niche? What do you do?
So we've been going just over 10 years. We predominantly do LVT and carpets, so still more of the domestic market. We do laminates, woods, engineered. You know, I had a background from working with sander machines. So we used to do school work. So we'd do the scrub and seals in the sports halls and put the lacquers down and do the court markings, everything. So we kind of pull everything into our company. As I say, we're probably 80% at the moment LVT, 20% carpet. Occasionally we get the odd wood job coming in, but that's what we do. If I got a biggish job coming in, I call upon certain guys around the UK to come and do it for me. So we've been going 10 years. I've been in the flooring industry 23. Yeah. We operate Norfolk and Suffolk, so I'm based over on the coast, over near Galston, Great Yarmouth. About 5-10 minutes from there. Basically go all around Norfolk and Suffolk doing our work. We go down to London and Newcastle and Liverpool and Birmingham and all over if the job is worth doing. And also we go and help other people out. We've got a small network of guys that we work alongside. And also when I decided to make the kind of transition into being something better, I made a call to Matt Bourne at Floor Skills. Phoned him up, had seen his name on a few of the forums and said, I hear you're the guy to come speak to. And he says, well, what do you want to do? And I says, well, I want to be the best in my area. Fast forward 9 years to just obviously win the LVT comp and have a good name and a good reputation of doing the best I can, doing certain things in the area that no one else does.
So tell me about that. You said you won that LVT award. What was that?
So there's a couple of training schools in the UK. You've got the FITA. They're based in Nottingham, and you've got Floor Skills, who I work for in Solihull. They both do competitions, run alternate years. This year, obviously because of COVID last year, the LVT Fitter of the Year competition got pushed back a year. So you enter the competition, you get a couple of documents come through, you have to answer the questions. Whoever answers the questions in the most detail, they get put forward to the semi-final. So they cut everyone down to the top 12. So I made the semi-finals, went to the training centre, done my bay.
Right. So you got to do something physically in front of judges that you don't just send pictures of previous work.
No. So you kind of, they put you under the screw a little bit and put you under pressure, which is, I'm kind of used to it in a way to a certain level. Because obviously doing the training courses, you might have 10 guys, you might be on an open day and have 60 guys stood around you watching you. So I was kind of a little bit prepared. And then they give you a brief of what you need to do. They finish the bay up. You have a time scale. If you don't make the time scale, then you don't move on to the next stage. Luckily, I passed the semi-finals, got to the finals, and that was in September at Harrogate at the National Floor Show.
Yeah, great.
2 days, they gave you a brief, they gave you the products, and it was a case of, whoever can install to the highest standard within the time scale, within the parameters that they set out, using all your practices, your tips, your techniques, and everything you've learned over the fitting life. To come out and be crowned UK LVT Fitter of the Year. And it's the first time the LVT comp has ran. So being the first is... Oh,
mate, that's huge, right? I would assume you've obviously kept quiet about it, right? You haven't told anybody that,
No, I might have mentioned it once or twice. And, few hashtags of LVT Fitter of the Year might have crept into social media.
Absolutely. And that'll probably stick for the next 11 months, right? But has work picked up? How is work at the moment? Are you busy? Like you said, it normally gets quiet around this time, but are you still stacked?
Yeah, it's so kind of when it was predominantly carpets, you would, because you can kind of put a lounge carpet in a few hours. Stairs maybe a little bit longer, so carpets are a lot easier, quicker turnaround. So the lead up to Christmas, everybody wants new carpets for Christmas, to have the family around, to spill the dinner on and spill wine on.
Yeah, especially if they haven't spent any money on holidays predominantly over the past 18 months, right? They got a bit of cash to spend on their house at home.
Yeah, so the last few years from coming back from COVID, obviously nobody having holidays, and everybody's really been doing up, either having extensions, doing kitchens, lounges, going to town, spending the money they've saved up to enjoy.
Yeah.
So for us, it's been, I think we came back, we had about 7 weeks off from April through to end of May.
Yeah.
Slowly came back. But since maybe June, July last year, it's been non-stop.
Right.
Which for us as a business is good. The only problem we find now is that with the lack of drivers and manufacturers, raw materials and transport and everything.
Keep up with the demand, yeah.
Yeah, so we're now, we put our diary off for Christmas back in October, and I'm still getting calls daily, can you squeeze us in? It's like, you're going to be February now before we can get anything done.
This is all good problems to have, right? Did you think, but 2 years ago, you were probably, it was a little bit squeaky bum time, right?
Yeah, COVID kicks in and you don't know if we're going to be able to go into customers' houses. Obviously, we can't work from home.
Yeah. That's right.
I can put a floor down and show you, but you're not going to accept that and pay me for it. So it's a little bit trickier for us. But no, it's been good.
That's good. Well, that's good to hear. Awards winning, work's picking up. So, look, you've been in the biz 23 years, right? You've been in and out of people's houses, during that time. You've been a van boy. You've been the van driver. Have you got any stories? What we like to do is kind of like, cap off the show with a funny story from over the past 30 years, man and boy. So have you got anything that you can, don't worry about being, crass or risque, there could be anything, or you could be, quite a simple story, but have you got anything that you could tell the listeners of what's happened over the past 20 years going into a customer's house?
We've had a couple where when we used to sub, when I was with my old boss, I was only maybe with him a couple of years, and we'd turned up at a customer's house, gone to start prepping, and the customer's gone, like, we'll leave it to you, we're going to go out for the day. Fine, no worries. So they go off shopping, we start prepping, get everything fitted, and we've got a tiny little room left to do. Customers come back, and it's always, it's the same jokes, is, oh, that's not the right colour, and you go, yeah, yeah, I hadn't heard that before. So you do that, and they went, no, we're not kidding. That's not the right colour. No. And the shop had sent out, I think it was like 031. It should have been 037. They read the code wrong on the paperwork, and they sent like a chocolate colour carpet, and it should have been cream or vice versa. So we'd managed to fit this whole house out. And then
really? How many square metres is that?
It's about 80, 90 square metres. Oh. So yeah, a good day's work prepping it up, and then we had to go back a few weeks later and replace it all, fit it all.
And you're sitting there going, yeah, great joke, mate. Oh, the nice dad joke. Thanks very much. Oh no, actually, now I've got a brown carpet where it should be beige. Yeah,
so we've had things like that. We've turned up, and as a trainee, you kind of, when you're first getting into it, your spatial awareness as a 17, 18, 19-year-old kid is not great. Yeah. So you go put a jumper on, and as you push your arms through, I've knocked the lampshade off, and that smashed on the floor.
Right, 8 a.m. As soon as you got through the door, yeah, that's it.
We've done that. I've caught an electric cable where it shouldn't have been. I've hit a water pipe.
Okay, cool. So you've done everything. I've hit a water pipe doing all fairness. Yeah. I was an apprentice and had the goggles on. He's like, yeah, you can grind that radiator off. And he obviously knew that he hadn't locked the water off. And then there's me. I just cut straight for it. And it was that classic, when you take the goggles off and like behind the goggles is absolutely clear and I'm covered in black stuff, right? God, it was hideous. Hey, look, Matt, it's been great chatting to you. How do people get in touch? If they want to get their carpet or their LVT done in February onwards, how do people find out about you? They
can either Google and get my contact details, or find me either on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So Cre8tive Flooring.
Spell it out for us.
CRE number 8 TIVE Flooring or go on the socials as Cre8tive Flooring or Cre8tive Floors, and that will pop up.
Amazing. Hey, look, congratulations on winning Fitter of the Year. Thanks very much for being a part of the show. Listeners, you've been awesome. You can listen to the entire season 1, every episode, up on Google, Apple, or Spotify. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next month with a brand new guest. Catch you later.